Esty Klassen, the host of the First Time Homebuyer Show. This week, Wednesday, live at 8 p.m., we're chatting to Moritz Wellensiek about how he went from being an entrepreneur for 14 years to now being the founder of the Blackbrick Apartments. Please do not miss the show. It is on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube live at 8 p.m. We'll see you there. Good evening and welcome back to the First Time Homebuyer Show. I'm your host, Esty Klassen. As you know, Private Property brings you amazing shows every day this week. From Monday to Friday at 7 p.m, we have Zamantungwa Kumalo with the Private Property Podcast, talking technicalities, home loans, everything you need to know about purchasing that first property. And every Tuesday and Thursday, we have Mbali with the farming, agriculture, livestock. Everything you need to know about farming is Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. And of course, every Wednesday, it's me with the First Time Homebuyer Show at 8 p.m. as well. And this weekend, we do not leave you alone. Chad Viveris is on your screens. That's Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. He travels around Joburg and finds the perfect home. That is the Home Shopper Show on Saturday and Sunday. And without further ado, tonight I am sitting with the founder of Blackbrick, Moritz Wellensiek. And this is a show for those young entrepreneurs. Moritz has developed and created a space for entrepreneurs to connect intellectually, physically, and socially. Good evening, Moritz. How are you today?
Fine, thanks. And how are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for allowing us into this absolutely amazing building. I know this is the HQ, as you like to call it, the headquarters of Blackbrick.
Indeed.
Right, and this is where it all started.
Yes.
But just before we get to Blackbrick and why and what and how it started, I'd like to find out a little bit about Moritz. You know, I know you traveled quite a bit, and because of you traveling so much, that influenced this idea. So maybe just give me a little bit of a background about Moritz, please.
Yeah, I guess it starts back in, I moved to South Africa when I was 12 from Germany, and I have an Italian mother, so when I left school, I went to work for an online gaming company as a translator for Italian and German into English and that. But being in that environment exposed me to the tech world, okay, which I had no exposure to previously. And that led me to building an online social student network. And so that was, pre-Facebook days. It was more or less the same time Facebook started overseas, and then sometime after that it came into South Africa. But at the time, the idea was in fact to have a network of the social network across the country, connecting university students to share ideas, sell textbooks across the country, communicate on events that were happening. That then grew into an events company, which the way we promoted it is we would go into the festivals and into the nightclubs and have camera crews that would take pictures of people having fun. And then the next morning we would post it online. So this was pre the selfie.
Right.
And it was pre, having everything at your fingertips. And so the next morning, there would be a flood of people going to retrieve their pictures and then printing it out and sticking it on their fridge. It was that time, right?
Yeah.
Did other interesting things like free SMSs from the site. So now, obviously, we've got WhatsApp. But I was 21 at the
21,
time.
yes.
Yeah. So it was some time ago now. But yeah, so that was an incredible journey. It taught me about community, it taught me about technology, having a national business. I then exited that in 2009, and I was in Cape Town at the time, and I had an empty apartment because I had just moved into a new apartment and I needed furniture. So I didn't want to pay retail price. So I looked for furniture that was by a manufacturer, okay, in the Cape Town area. I found this manufacturer who produced a 3-piece lounge suite for me for, I would say, a quarter of the price of what it would have retailed. And I would have friends coming in and saying, or I would ask them, how much would you pay for this lounge suite? And they would be like, 8 grand, 12 grand, and it was 3.5. So I thought, wow, there's naturally a margin there. I said, let me get into the furniture business. And then that led me to using my apartment as a showroom to start selling furniture. That then moved into a furniture retail store on Cliffe Street in Cape Town. Then that grew into a commercial fit-out business. Then that led me to project management, and then eventually I worked with Best Western for a number of years. They have about 4,500 hotels globally, and that exposed me to a lot of the hotel value chains on a very high level, rewards programs, and the different ways that hospitality can be applied to property. And so then in 2017, I went out on my own to do property development, and I did some land densification for residential purposes in Hyde Park. And then I was looking for a residential conversion to roll out this concept that had been brewing in my mind for many years, and eventually found the old SAB head office as a potential candidate. We did a deal, and 3 years later we have a building now with 208 apartments.
That's crazy. So, talking about the building Blackbrick, and I actually wanted to know about the name as well, but we'll get to that. But so why, I see how you've been influenced by everything that you've done and all the jobs that you've done and you traveling. I see why that influenced this kind of hustle. So why Blackbrick?
I guess the why behind it is quite simply to scratch my own itch. That's where, as an entrepreneur for many years, you're faced with many challenges, and that's why it's very difficult to be an entrepreneur. And especially a young entrepreneur that doesn't have a network, doesn't have funding available, doesn't have the resources or the infrastructure surrounding you to support you to produce your best work. And it's very difficult, not really because the product is difficult, because the product is in your soul and it is something that comes out of you naturally. It's the other things in your life that make it difficult. And simple things like the admins of life, having to do your laundry, or having an untidy apartment that is not conducive for good thinking, or just an environment that doesn't support you socially or in terms of a network to do that. So, what I started to think about was, what if there could be an environment, almost like an ecosystem, that was perfectly attuned to serve that purpose on every single level, down to the very last detail, not only for entrepreneurs, but also for young professionals, to do their best work, to elevate themselves, to accelerate their lives, to learn things. And so the idea kind of started to come together on three main pillars. The first was that the physical environment had to make life easy. Okay, if you have difficulty in your physical space, then everything else becomes exponentially more difficult. The second pillar is a very strong social structure surrounding you. Okay, you have to have people that support you. You have to have, we're social animals at the end of the day. You can, work remotely in your room by yourself for 2 weeks, and you'll know what I'm talking about. You go crazy. You need people in your life, and you need people to teach you. You need people to teach. You need influence that guides your journey, and we're just social animals. So it's absolutely vital to have those social constructs. It almost goes back to the village mentality. We don't have villages anymore. We're all in big cities, living our own little lives in our apartments, and the village concept has kind of disappeared. But what we're doing is we're bringing it back, in the sense that we've got a vertical village where you get everything under one roof. You see?
And the third pillar is intellectually. Because I know this.
Yeah, of course. So the third pillar, and you're actually sitting in the room that facilitates that, called the Conversation Lounge.
Nice.
And intellectually, it needs to nourish you. Because I thought, what do I want as an entrepreneur in order to get to that next level? What do I need? Okay, physical space, social interaction, networking, and then the intellectual nourishment is the last pillar. And it's vital, because without that continuous growth, that iteration on a daily basis of learning, honing your craft and fine-tuning your skills, you will never get to that point of acceleration.
I can definitely vouch for that, because I've gone insane just working from home and not having anyone else to speak to, and then you also, the fear of going outside because there is a pandemic still around us. And when I did my research about Blackbrick, I was like, if I was trapped in this place during lockdown, would have been lit every single day. Like, because there's literally everything here. But just before I double tap on what else you have to offer, you said something about being an entrepreneur and not kind of getting the support that you did in the beginning. And I'm sure to the viewers watching, there are many entrepreneurs who are getting no's, getting rejected, not getting funding.
Absolutely.
What was that like?
Completely. It boils down to you have to, if you're not in an environment that supports that as it is here, then it's the only way to get to the other line is either luck or it is being tenacious and never giving up, and time. It took me 8 years to open these doors, and before that 14 years of getting to this point. So if you're not in the mix, it's a matter of time. And unfortunately, as an entrepreneur that is young, you have certain dreams that get crushed along the way, and that can dishearten you. And if you don't push through those barriers, and some people don't have the runway to be able to do that, they don't have a side hustle that can keep them going for 8 years, for example, to do the big dream. They like hit a wall and then like, let me go into corporate, or they hit a wall and they find employment elsewhere. So it's, I think that unfortunately that is a reality, and network has a lot to do with that. And what we try and do is we identify people who want to be put into a position of a network that can support what it is they're doing, and we facilitate all of that. So for example, we'll get guides in that are specialists in that particular field to help you along, almost like mentors. Oh, wow. And we'll facilitate networking events. We have an accelerator, so an entrepreneur comes to us and they get put into the accelerator. There's a program, they learn certain things about entrepreneurship, whether it be the simple things like finance and tax and the legal requirements of starting a business, down to the emotional burdens and having someone to talk to. So we do the 360 approach that's needed. Yeah,
and I'm sure so many tenants who are situated here have probably come to this conversation lounge and probably seen, we can help each other out, just by not even knowing each other.
Absolutely.
But meeting in these different rooms, in these different spots within Blackbrick. And on the topic of, you said something about we hit a wall as entrepreneurs, and then we're just so disheartened by the fact, and I love what you said, I'm just going to quickly quote it, because you say, usually we find solutions in the form of an app or mass-produced product off the shelf. And then you go to say, but every once in a while, you come across a problem for which an adequate solution does not exist. You probably know this off by heart.
Well, I've said it, so I remember.
You remember. Just for the viewers, and this leaves you with one of two choices, right? You say you can either compromise and settle for something less than ideal. So when was that moment in Moritz's life when you were like, I'm not going to compromise, I'm not going to settle?
To be honest, never.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just a matter of, for me, it was never an option not to get to that other side. When I said that, I mean more that generally you have, when you're faced with the problem for which a solution doesn't exist, you have two options. You can either accept it and just carry on life as normal, or you can do something about it. And my thing was always do something about it, whether it was in the nightclub space and the marketing space or the furniture space. It was like, there's a problem, I want to have a solution that doesn't exist, let me solve it. And I think that's maybe a hallmark of an entrepreneur, right, or a creative. I think breaking through that is not easy, and what we're trying to do is to create a lower barrier to entry, to make it feel possible. Because if you're supported by people who say, listen, I've done it, he's done it, we're doing it, we're trying, we failed 10 times, join us on this journey, then you're like, you know what, this is normal. This failure, rejection, everything is normal.
It's about getting used to it, and not giving up at the end.
Yeah, and then it's like, this is actually an option that I actually can scratch my own itch. It's an option to have exactly what I want in my life by creating this product.
And I want to move to, because the show is for the first-time home buyers, the viewers at home, just about, so I classify myself as a first-time home buyer, and I've always been a little bit skeptical of investing in apartments rather than a home. But then I look back and I'm like, but if I buy a house, I'm going to end up living there, and it doesn't become a kind of passive, positive, cash flowing stream that I get.
Absolutely.
So why would you say that Blackbrick is so not important, but why would you say this is the right property to invest in for first-time home buyers?
So firstly, the simple entry point of, I mean, we've got now, so this Blackbrick you're sitting in now has got 208 apartments we've sold out. We did that quite quickly, I think, for a number of reasons. There was a lot of hype around the product. It was a new thing that came out into the market, and a lot of first-time buyers did take advantage of that. On the back of that success, we've then been able to develop one in Cape Town, and we're launching one actually next weekend here in Sandton, across the road.
Yeah,
so this is 208 apartments. That's going to be 280.
Okay.
All right, and a lot of them are, whereas here they started mainly around 950. There they're going to be starting from 895.
Okay.
So the entry point, the entry price is absolutely key.
Yeah.
That makes it possible for first-time buyers that are young, that don't have a big income, to be able to participate in property investing. The monthly bond, for example, that one would pay. So you have to pay a 10% deposit here in Sandton, for instance. And then your monthly repayment thereafter, if you do say a 30-year bond, is under 5,500 Rand a month, which is really achievable for a lot of people that want to get into the property space. In Cape Town, we actually have a special running for first-time buyers. For instead of paying 10% deposits, they pay 20,000 Rand. So 10% of, call it 895, you're talking about 90,000 Rand, we reduced that to 20. So a lot of the time the first time buyer has trouble coming up with a lump sum of cash, of course. So 20,000 Rand gets you in the game, and then the bank takes care of the rest. And we facilitate things like very speedy credit checks, so you know what you can afford, and we do automatic applications with the six major banks. I think maybe what's good to note for the first-time buyers, and it applies to all of the buyers, is that you become a member of our club. We should talk about that a bit more, but
that's what I wanted to.
The membership to the club allows you access, even if you don't live in the building, if you just bought it as an investment property, you are able to access all of our facilities and all of our clubs, whether it be Cape Town, Johannesburg, wherever we are, you can then access the club. And the club has got many facilities in it. So you have your membership card, I have it here, and you basically tap yourself into the members only area.
Right.
It says here, don't close any doors. And it's basically as an owner, you're able to access all of our facilities, which is a huge value add for a first-time owner, because you're also probably a young entrepreneur or young professional needing space to work from.
Yeah, I love that you hold our hand throughout the process.
Absolutely.
Even once we're in the building, once we're here, we're settled, you're still holding our hand. You're making these networking groups. You're literally, everything we do, we're not alone. When you're here. And that goes back to the social aspect of your 3 pillars, because we need that type of support. I want to find out more about Moritz. I know you've got Cape Town, you've got opposite the road, you've got this one. Where do you see Blackbrick in the future? What's the future for Blackbrick?
So we've got a very aggressive growth strategy. One thing is having a building that is in its own right an environment that's a turnkey for you. It basically, you can put it on Mars and live there and never have an issue, right? Because you never have to leave, because you've got everything on site. 2 restaurants, the works. But the other big part of the mission is to have a network of these things, so that you can be a nomad, in a sense, a digital nomad. We all know that this part of the this sector of the economy globally is expanding. And so, catering to that flexibility of moving between cities and being flexible in terms of your rental arrangement as well.
Right.
So instead of the traditional lease for 12 months, and then you have to, see that lease through or break the lease and then have to find another place and do another lease there. Our mission is to be able to say, all right, well, this week I'm in Johannesburg, and I've got a fully furnished apartment, so I just come in with my toiletries and my clothes, and I'm fully at home, and I've got everything I need. And then, next week I've got a contract for 2 weeks in Cape Town. I'll go there. I go to LA. I go to Austin, Texas. I go to Lisbon. So you're becoming this, as you should be, because digitally you're exposed to the entire world, right? So physically we're not there yet.
Right.
So our mission is to create a network of about 50 of these properties globally so that you can move seamlessly between cities. So we've got this, this is almost like a credo card, but we call it the memberandum.
Oh,
Memberandum, because we're all members, whether we're working here or whether we're guests or residents or owners. We all become members of this club, of this community, right? And so our mantra is we are members empowering members to become the best version of themselves. So basically, even if you're an employee, you participate in everything that's going on here. So our employees are growing their own personal lives by being here. And the residents, for example, don't see the employees as employees. They see them as part of the tribe, right? And that's always been kind of our mission, and I'm so glad that it's coming through, because it's got this exponential effect. And so I mean, every morning we all sit around the table. There's about 35 of us at HQ.
Oh, wow.
That sit around, from our cleaners to the housekeeping to the restaurant staff to the front of house, all the way up to management. We all sit together and we all have a voice. And we have a bit of a routine that we follow, and we call it the memorandum, the huddle actually, where we huddle together and we start the day 9 o'clock sharp till 20 past 9. And we talk about what's happening in the building. We share personal stories. We extract our values and talk about them. We share a quote of the day.
Oh, nice.
And we basically all get on the same page to start our day. And it's a great thing. We start by playing like loud music. Someone gets selected to do like the theme song for the day, and we have a good time doing it.
I love that it's so inclusive. I love that everyone is sitting together and holding this. So I'd like to show the viewers, I know you probably don't have one favorite thing about Blackbrick, but what would you say is your favorite? It could be a room, it could be a work of art. What is your favorite thing about Blackbrick?
What people connect with the most is the rooftop bar. In this case, we've got an incredible view overlooking the Sandton suburbs and the greenery, because we're on the edge of Sandton. We're literally 300 meters away from Sandton City, and we're on the ring of what you call the CBD. So we're in walking distance to all of the corporates. I mean, so it's literally in the center, but it's also on the line. So when you look this way, it's funny, when you look this way, you're in the city, right? You're in a proper metro. When you look this way, it's like you're in the bush.
Oh, really?
It's completely green, So when we do the shots later, we can have a look at those, I would say that would be my favorite piece,
Okay, amazing.
And the cinema room.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very cool dark space that people find very cool as well.
So I'm just going to close off quickly, because I think we're a little bit out of time. But I always ask my guests what their definition of home is. And your home is literally buildings across cities within South Africa, or I'd like to think so. From hearing, this is like your baby, this is your home. If you could, So, what would you say? What does home mean to Moritz?
I think home means a private space that is yours, that you can live your private life in, and it doesn't have to necessarily be large. It just has to be well designed, functional, and private. Okay, and then having the option to live your call it social life outside in a variety of amenities at your fingertips. So for example, when I go to the office, it's not just because this is my office and I work here, but for anyone who lives here, they walk out of their apartment, 20 seconds in the corridor, down the lift, and they're in a full-on workstation. It's a big desk with everything you need, professional printing, internet, the works. So for me, access to those facilities at the touch of a finger, very close by, is incredibly important, because we're living a very dynamic life now. It's not work-life balance in my view, it's work-life integration. So you're always on, right? You're not ever really switching off, although you should from time to time, but you can live your personal space. Then when you need to dive into a bit of work, you can quickly do that because it's close by, and then go back into your personal space. And then another thing that is home for me would be having a community. People that I can reach out to and that are close by as well to have relationships with. And then lastly, it would be freedom of movement, not being trapped Because home for me is not one place. Home for me is an idea, consistency, having this in multiple locations all over the world. That would be home for me.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I was really excited, because when I read a lot of the articles, and you also write on the website, on Blackbrick's website, it was from your own voice. I love how involved you are, and that's what you're promoting, to be involved. And you're not like some investor that's a silent partner, or you're here every day. You're here. This is home, like you said. One of the most important things for me was how you were an entrepreneur for 8 years, and how you were rejected. And a lot of our viewers are probably in that space right now. So just before we close off, if there's anything that you can leave with the viewers, and just like some sort of motivation, because we could be in a similar boat and give up tomorrow.
Yeah, I think there's really two things that come to mind. One is be tenacious. Okay, do not quit. Take no for an answer, but then change your approach. Okay, don't quit. Just keep on iterating and try many different things until something drops. If you're an entrepreneur, you're not married to one idea. You're not married to one product. You're a creative person that is able to find solutions in daily life. So keep on iterating either the product or completely change the product until something happens. Obviously be responsible about it. You need a livelihood, that's important, but don't give up would be the main thing. And then if you want to become an entrepreneur and you feel like that is out of reach for you, try and ask yourself this question. Look around your immediate environment and think about, say, 3 things that really irritate you. Okay, like, every day this thing happens to me. You know, there's no, the plug points don't work. I don't know, whatever it might be. And then try and imagine a solution for that. And that is a product you could do. So finding solutions to daily life problems is importantly, you need to research where the solution exists. Okay, that's the next step after that. But if it doesn't, then there's a real opportunity for you to take that on, and it's possible.
Yeah, thank you so much, Moritz. I think also what I've learned in my few years of entrepreneurship, I'd like to think I'm one, is if you do get a no, right? Just the courage to be like, so why didn't it work? To ask, why are you saying no? How can I make it better? Because I feel like the people that we go to ask for funding, they've been in the game, but it's just, we're so intimidated and so scared to ask for advice. And I love that, again, you're so transparent and you can just openly give. We need a share. That's how we'll grow together.
Absolutely, yeah. Come to Blackbrick, share your story, and we'll try to help each other.
Yeah, thank you so much, Moritz.
Cool, thank you so much.
To our viewers at home, thank you so much for joining us this evening. As you know, the First Time Home Buyer Show is new and improved, and we need you. Have you heard of similar stories from friends, family members, colleagues, partners? Well, tag them down in the comment section below, and they could stand a chance to being on the First Time Home Buyer Show with me, your host, Esti Klaassen. We'll see you guys again next week at 8. See you there.